You're listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
Our mission is to connect with and actively engage Western Oregon outdoorsmen.
I want to encourage people to have a positive life change from the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's not just killing something.
One question we ask on this show is, what's your true motivation behind your life in the outdoors? What's going on deep down inside of you when you're engaging with hunting and fishing?
I believe that God gave us the ability to do this. That's one way to connect with God.
This is where the spiritual piece really comes in. We are a part. We have a profound impact on our resources.
I don't know how to answer that other than to say it's just all about Jesus.
Listen to this podcast, join our Facebook group at Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club, or participate in any of our club fishing trips, shooting events, or hunting trips. Welcome to the show. We are so glad you tuned in, and I hope that you learned something valuable from today's episode. We're recording here in Albany at the Willamette Sportsman show. It's live. I'm not going to be able to edit out any ums or any coughs or anything like that. So please have some grace for me and my guest today, Nathan Endicott. Nathan, say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
So you can hear in his voice that he's super tired and worn out because he just can't get away. Everyone's
Blacktail
always trying
seminars.
to talk to him.
Yeah.
Blacktail seminars. He's a popular guy. So
Got my
I
coffee.
really appreciate you taking some time to carve out and say hi to us. But
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Hopefully you'll do more than just say hi. I mean, I got some good questions for you. So anyway, this show, if this is your first time tuning in, one of our goals is to provide content that is specifically geared toward what I believe is the most overlooked segment of the outdoorsman community. That is Pacific Northwest hunters and fishermen. So whether you're chase Roosevelt elk, pursue black-tailed deer, you fish for Willamette River smallmouth, buoy 10 salmon, those of us that spend the fall and winter swimming around in the wettest woods in the lower 48, you have found your podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I just have a couple announcements before we continue on with the show. I always want to invite everyone to join our Facebook group at Salem First Hunting and Fishing and to like our Instagram, that is OFHF Podcast. Our next event coming up, right now we're at the Willamette Sportsman show. It's been great. We've met some awesome people. Our next event's going to be a fishing trip in April, so watch out for that. And then we have Shop Talk coming up the fourth Monday of every month. We're here, like I said, live at the Willamette Sportsman Show. I have a couple shout-outs. First of all, to Oliver. He came and said hi. That was really cool. He said he loved the show, and it was just an honor to get to meet him and meet someone who likes to listen to what we do. I never thought it would come to this point where, someone wants to come say hi to us at a random booth, at a random sportsman show. But, Oliver, love you. That was awesome. Colby as well said he listened to the show before, signed up for the raffle. And a shout-out to Eugene, who we met, and we're actually going to have him on the show sometime this season, so look out for that episode. In this episode, we talk about my duck season wrapping up, turkey season being on the way, news segment about our new Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife Director that will be coming our way, and a conversation with hunting filmmaker and passionate bow hunter Nathan Endicott.
Yeah, that's me.
That's him. For those of you who do not know Nathan, he is, like I said, I think passionate is a good word. At least that's how it comes across in your videos, your content. You love being out there in the woods. You love pursuing your craft and doing the best you can with what you have, living your life and to the fullest, right?
Thank you, yeah.
Living your life. I love that. So I'm excited, but now it's time for icebreakers. So I'm going to ask you the 5 icebreakers. Just answer them quick. Don't go into too many details.
Okay.
I know you hate that.
That's all good.
Yep, just off the fly.
Okay.
Fixed blade or mechanical?
Mechanical.
GoPro or DSLR?
DSLR.
So if you had to pick one state other than Oregon to hunt, where would you go?
Nevada.
Would you rather hunt old timber or a burned area?
Old growth timber.
All right. And then finally, trout fishing or grouse hunting? Pick one.
No. Gosh, both. Okay. Okay, grouse. Just
Grouse?
because I could take the kids now.
Mhm.
It's much easier to take the kids on that one. Well, trout fishing's kind of like close.
Yeah, well, it depends because you like to do the high lakes.
I like to do the high lakes
Yep.
for trout. Yeah,
So-
that's like where the trout scene is for me.
Uh-huh.
Is I hike in with a float tube, and
Yeah.
it's mosquito season, so it's tough with the kids yet.
Yeah.
But that is by far so amazing to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like a lot of people might have heard trout fishing and thought going to
the river or the lake.
Yeah, the pond.
The pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going down here in Albany, we got Timberland, we got Waverly
Planners.
Pond. Yep.
Yeah, I guess high lakes can't have planners, but I do like the natural reproducing high lakes.
Yeah.
The best. They fight the best.
Yeah.
Those fish are good.
And you got to work hard for them. They're smarter. They're wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say though, my 3-year-old son, he sure loves going to these little ponds and catching trout. So
Sure.
I'm not above that.
I know, same.
Yeah.
I just love sharing it with the kids, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, awesome. Well, before we get into our local news story, I'm just going to share what's up in the outdoors with me, your host. Like I said, coming off a duck season, which I did a whole duck season recap episode right before this one that I encourage people to listen to if they want to know what's the skinny of what happened. All in all, it was a pretty rough year for everybody. That's all I'll say. But I still had fun, had some good hunts.
What constitutes a rough year? Like, how would you just describe that?
It was so warm that the ice never melted up in north until the very end of season, so we didn't get our migratory birds until way later than normal.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, a lot of the beginning of season, people were only getting on resident birds if they had private land to hunt on.
They've been shot at before.
There's just less of them.
Okay.
And yeah, they just kind of know where to be. They know to be in the park. They know to be in someone's backyard
Safe
who
zones.
feeds them. Yep, exactly. So it's just a lot harder, different game.
Yeah.
So if you were a beginner duck hunter this year, don't feel bad. That it was across the board just a hard year, bad year to start duck hunting for the first time. The old guys with private access who know exactly what they're doing, they slate them, but they'll do that no matter what. Seems like they somehow make ducks appear to fill those limits. But now I'm prepping for the spring bird seasons. I'm excited for the spring goose. I'm going to try to get out. That'll be my first ever, intentionally goose hunting before. And so I don't know what that's like. I don't know how the late season hunts. I do have some fields I'll be able to go on and the river, of course. So we'll see how that goes. But if anyone has tips for getting those geese, I'm going to try to have a goose hunter guest on pretty soon to talk about goose hunting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It sounds pretty appealing. I know you can only get 3 this year. But they're big birds.
They're big birds, yeah. Do you think the appeal, too, is there's more meat for the effort?
As opposed to duck hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because some of those ducks, like when I'm hunting the bays and I'm shooting buffalo heads or, I'm not above taking a coot. I've done it. I got 2 coots this year.
Yeah.
And you look at the legs on those things and there's nothing there. I've smoked them whole before, just to kind of pick meat off of them, and that was fine, but it was a lot of work. I'm going to be honest here. Most of the time I just breast them out and cook the breast fillets that way on the small ducks. So then you compare that to a goose. Even a big mallard, there's a lot of meat on a big mallard.
Oh, yeah.
And then a goose is just that much more.
That much more, for sure.
Plus, keeps you out with a gun in your hands later in the year. And then right after that will be turkey season. I'm excited for spring turkey. That's going to be a blast. I haven't been turkey hunting for that long in my life, but it's still something fun to do.
Yeah, you going to try any archery, or are you going to just go for the shotgun?
I'm really tempted because this year I have access to private property that holds a lot of turkeys.
In that case, it's like try with your bow.
Yeah, I kind of want to make it harder.
Cool.
But I kind of want to get some of those headlopper broadheads. You've seen those?
The guillotine?
Yeah.
Is that what
Dude.
I'm sure there's multiple, but that's the one I'm aware of, yeah.
I have watched hours of footage of people lopping turkeys' heads off. I can't.
Yeah.
And not because I'm like sadistic or anything.
No.
It's just so satisfying. It's like a flunk, and then the turkey's head is separate from its body, but.
Yeah, I've never seen it really. I've just heard of it. Guys talk about it all the time. I'm not much of a bird hunter, of course, other than the grouse, but I think that would be neat if I do pick up turkey hunting, would be to try with my bow.
Yeah.
And to try for the guillotine approach.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like that would be a really big challenge with a bow. And it feels like, too, a clean miss or a perfect kill.
Well,
and I do like that aspect.
They're so jumpy on movement.
Oh, sure.
Shooting a bow is a lot more movement than shooting a gun.
Yeah.
Even lifting up your gun, if you are not smart enough to have it lifted up before the turkey comes.
Yeah.
Like, you can only hold full draw for so long, and sometimes that turkey takes a really long time to come around the tree or over the hill,
Sure. It could really sharpen your skills as an archer.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why, I've been told to practice shooting water bottles with my bow.
Yeah.
That's a good to get it narrowed down to the turkey's neck and head.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be doing that, and that's what's been going on for me, my life in the outdoors recently. Trout fishing, but we already mentioned that. I don't need to bring it up again because I just take my 3-year-old to the pond and catch the stalkers. And you know what? I'm proud of it. It's fun.
No, that's good. That's good. Just any reason to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our local news, here's our look at the news. Our ODF director for the last, I think it was 2015 is when he was. Yeah, 2015 is when he was instated. He's set to retire this April. So real quick overview, what do we know is that he's been the director since 2015. In 2023, he was reelected for a 4-year term, so he's in the very beginning of that term. And they've told us the plan is that recruiters from the state of Oregon and from a recruiting company in Tigard are going to conduct the search. A panel of 2 commissioners and a liaison from the governor's office will help screen the candidates, and the executive recruiters will consult stakeholders to learn what they feel is important for a new director. So I read that straight off of the website there. That's word for word on ODFW.com. They also said that then the final candidates are expected to be presented to the public in a public forum as early as mid-March, and then the final candidates will also meet with the governor or her designee. So doesn't even have to meet with the actual governor, could potentially meet with her designee.
Okay.
And all that there, that background laid out what's happening, where it's going. Obviously, a lot of us hunters and fishermen, it's going to ring some bells. We have some concerns.
Yeah.
I've heard some people say, I'm glad that guy's gone because I don't like what the ODFW has been doing. I've heard then the rebuttal to that is, well, we don't know if we're going to get someone worse or someone who is bent toward a different position. Yeah. Especially since the governor has a big hand, apparently, in kind of steering the ship on how this all goes down.
Yeah, I hear that. So it was public notice and public input through the stakeholder groups. So I guess I shouldn't say public input, but really stakeholder groups can provide input. What was the final selection based off of?
The final selection, it says all that it says about the final selection is that they will be presented to the public in a public forum, and then the final candidates will meet with the governor or her designee. It did not explain who makes the final call, though.
Yeah, I did hear you right. Yeah, it's not clear to me how they select the final candidate other than there would be a panel determined by the governor and then selected from that panel. So it doesn't sound like there's really much.
It's not like a public vote.
No.
It's not
stakeholder. No.
I'm sure that the wildlife committee will have a lot to say. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the final vote, but I'm not confirmed on that information.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously hope for the best, and then this is a great time as sportsmen to be prepared. Yeah. So if we do get some public comment or even the stakeholder groups, so like Oregon Outdoor Council or Howl for Wildlife, these other groups, it's a good time to bring them on and say, hey, you're representing the public here. Public pay in to your program so that you're the voice, and that would be the stakeholder group that hopefully has some sway or input. I think the emails that are prepared and kind of for the mass population to send in, I think they help, but honestly it probably just bombards the public official and they just get tired of it. Yeah. So it's like having that really unified effort where everybody comes together and then you have the stakeholder group speaking on your behalf and representing what all the voices are. I think that maybe carries more weight. While it's not, I'm not saying don't write in to the public official that gets to make the decision or the governor, but definitely partner with these groups, the stakeholder groups. So Oregon Outdoor Council, Howl for Wildlife, partner with them now, get on board with it, be behind the initiative, and so we can get somebody good in that position, that director role. Yeah.
And it needs to happen fast, and it might have already needed to happen because
Seriously.
It sounds like they're presenting them mid-March. And it's real interesting to me with the hope that they can have a new person instated by April 1st.
Oh.
So look, I mean,
missed that
it's
part.
already the middle of February.
Yeah.
So
We're
who
there.
knows how far along they are in conversations. He only announced it in January, though.
Okay, that's where I got lost because I had heard just started the 4-year term.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then that's where I missed that
Like
this is accelerated.
We're in the beginning of his 4-year
Something
term.
happened.
I don't know. They're
Yeah.
not saying why. They're not giving a reason. They're praising him for his time
He's just
at
done.
the department.
He's like, sorry, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I didn't see a reason anywhere in my reading. And,
Yeah.
you know, they said he's been with the department for 40 years.
Oh,
which,
sure.
I mean, at some
Could be
point
in-
you retire.
Yeah.
He could be in his late
Personal-
60s.
Could be personal reasons. You
Yeah,
wanted to
who knows if there's a
disclose
health
that.
thing or a family
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
Hopefully nothing bad happened, you know.
Yeah.
But no matter what, we're in the position where we need a new ODFW director.
see.
And to me, it's happening fast.
Wow.
So part
That's
of
too
me
bad.
wonders, though, because a fear we might have is that this would be a foot in the door for animal rights groups to do in Oregon what they have done and are doing in Washington,
Yeah.
as far as moving away from, you know, or not that they're able to do this by replacing the director, but it could be a step if there's a director who's more empathetic toward this idea that instead of the hunters being the main stakeholders of wildlife management and
The
then
non-hunter.
the non-hunter and the person who likes to just look at deer being a stakeholder even though they don't pay anything for the deer to
Yeah.
exist, you know, and that's what Washington is facing, is that
Yes.
mindset. And so the fear is, could this be
We talked
a
about
foot
that
in the door?
this
Oh,
last time on bear and
yeah, exactly. And because Washington lost their spring bear season, that was the so now we're kind of on high alert. And so when we hear about this leadership change, we begin to ask those questions like, is this a weakness? Is this a foot in the door?
Yeah.
I hope that because it's happening so fast, who knows who knew about this retirement beforehand?
Yeah.
Barring that, if everyone's finding out at around the same time, hopefully it'll happen fast enough that they don't have time to kind of rally up some candidate.
It sounds like they have a process in place and it's announced, but typically most public officials there would be an interim appointed until they could follow a typical process timeline and really account for the public comment and stakeholder input that they're asking for. And so
and this guy
surprised.
was interim before he was voted in when his 2015 first term started. He was interim before that, before he was officially voted in.
So maybe it'll be similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would hope so.
Yeah.
Because to give us 3 months,
it's not a lot of time.
It's not enough time at all.
No.
You know, like being in the church world, it literally can take years for a church to find the right lead pastor. You know, to replace that role over one nonprofit organization, it's such a careful selection, interviews, prayer, consideration for multiple years. Then for our Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is millions and millions of dollars funding, dealing with our most valuable natural resources and managing how it's used by the public, and so many different facets that this organization is in control of that directly impacts our lives as passionate hunters and fishermen, that I would really hope that the permanent position is filled in longer than 3 months.
Yes.
Unless they already had someone in the tube that they wanted.
Unless they already had it in mind and shortcutting some stuff, which we hope not. But you know, it'd be important to look into that process as it unfolds and making sure they are doing everything right. Because I mean, it could be protested or just challenged. So hopefully the stakeholder groups do speak up. And my dad's a good resource, so I'm gonna go bend his ear after this and
ask him
figure
about
out what we could do.
So could you, the ones that you named offhand that you think might be a good voice for this, could you say them one more time for the listener to know who to look into, who to support? You said Howl for Wildlife.
Yeah, Howl for Wildlife. John Stallone from Arizona, and so he's the I can't remember if he's the president or VP of that organization. And so you can sign up for free and get email notices on what's going on, and they cover the U.S. wide on regulations and changes across the states. And then so Oregon Outdoor Council is Oregon specific, of course. And my dad was I don't believe he still is, but he was the vice president for a long time. And so it's a great organization, and again, they kind of try to spearhead these changes that we see through ODFW, and then be able to show up to the symposiums or any public comment and speak on our behalf. And also they compose the emails that the general public can then use as a template and write into the public official to let your voice be heard. And so, that's what those two are. And so, just Googling them, looking at the website, and signing up for the free email notice. That's how you would stay updated with these changes. But this is the first I've actually heard of this, so I was not aware.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So, and that's one thing I want to challenge our listeners to do, is to not quickly forget about this. This is a big deal. Do some research, find out what's going on as news comes out, soak it up, process, figure out what's happening, and always be looking for ways to help steer the ship and make it go the direction we need it to go. Yeah,
because we can be complacent and say, oh, we can't do much about it, but ultimately it's like if you want your kids or even your future to be for the opportunity to exist, we got to think about it now. And when things change like this, we got to be conscious.
Yep, the boogeyman we can look to is Washington, because it is unfolding in a bad way there, and Oregon likes to follow suit with what happens in Washington and California. So let's steer the ship. Let's try to keep it going the way we want to go.
That's right.
So that's it for our news story. Let's get into our conversation with Nathan Endicott.
Where will it go?
Yep, this is a surprise. You're not going to know what direction we're going.
I'm absolutely unaware.
Yep. Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on it. Did you know that you made our intro?
I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun.
Yeah, you're a little surprised. What do you think of it? Give a critique and an encouragement.
Critique and encouragement. Critique is that it's my voice. The encouragement is that I get to redeem myself today.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I think I'm still kind of toying with the idea now that we're entering our second year of the show, is starting like a second season.
Oh, sure.
You know, and so I'll probably change the intro with more recent input rather than stuff that's a year old, you know?
Yeah.
And so that could be fun. So listeners, be ready for that. Last time you were on, I asked you to share your favorite hunting or fishing store or outdoor experience. But this time, since you've already asked that question, it can never change for the rest of your life. I'm just going to ask you to share a memorable experience from this season.
Okay, memorable experience, and that's easy. So taking my wife this year to get her blacktail. So my wife had a baby. It was our fourth kid. So we had our child on October 3rd. And so many are aware of the late dates for the rifle or any legal weapon tag here in Oregon.
Yeah.
And so we have the baby. We're doing good. Like, he's doing great, eating good. And we're kind of at that point where, you know, of course we have 4 kids. They're wild. We're busy. But we're like, well, now what?
Yeah,
do we
start to look out the window a little bit? Like, okay.
It's fall. It's deer season.
Yep.
We tried the year before with rifle, tried really hard, and had no luck.
Yeah.
And we had less excuses. And so it was kind of like, well, let's get out and do something fun. We're kind of cooped up. I've got some time off for bonding, which was a blessing.
Yeah.
So I get to bond with my children, and now we have 4. So it's so much more important that I get that time off to help her. And we get out in the woods, and we had grandma help a couple times, watch some of the kids. But on one occasion, we get out with the 3 younger boys. So it's Aya, Easton, and Eldon. Eldon's at that time 1 month old exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this moment where like I'm pushing the double bob stroller. I've got Eldon, the infant, on my chest and a baby carrier. So I've got 3 boys. My wife's out front like 100 yards with Blaze Orange and walking ahead with a rifle on an old skid road. And we're out hunting. And it's
that's awesome.
The whole time, you know, I'm like, what's the odds? It's fun to get out. It feels like kind of a
walk in the woods.
Yeah, I shouldn't say like a completely useless effort. It's not completely useless because anything could happen.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt not possible. Felt totally impossible to have had anything happen for us.
Yeah.
And so we go on this big hunt, and we come back to our truck at the parked at the end of a landing, and I look over and I see some people glassing below us, and so I go over to them, talk with them real quick, And they're like, yeah, there's a couple spiked bucks below where you guys were parked.
Oh.
And so I send my wife out, and she drops in this unit, gets on these bucks, and she blows them out. And there's two like little forky guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so she hikes back up to this skid road. I'm coming around to meet her. And when I'm doing that, I'm in the vehicle. And I look down in the bottom of this unit, and I see a bigger buck.
Wow.
And this is a buck that nobody's seen, right? Because there's like there's
Did he
like
stand
other
up
people.
when he heard your car?
No,
He's laying down.
no, yeah, he was probably like 300 yards, and so it is a little bit of a shocker. Like, why did that buck? But he was tucked in real tight. I think he thought he was safe. He was kind of like a dugout
that
deer
they
bed.
sit right under everyone's noses.
Yeah.
Like, so he probably thought he was hidden.
It's private timber land. I hardly ever hunt this way, but with the wife and kids, that's about all we can do.
Yeah.
It's basically
Hey,
a
I'm right
modified
there with
road
you,
hunt.
man. Yep.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what you got to do if you want to involve your wife and kids.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. I mean, I'd love to take them back in the wilderness like I do, but for myself. But
yeah, you know those little fingers on kids get frostbite easier than ours. So
it's
maybe
very unsafe, not smart, irresponsible. But anyway, so I see the buck. And I drive back around, and then I get my wife out of the rig, and there's this couple that was like spectator crowd, and that we already talked to about the spike bucks. They come over and help us. Anyway, so I get my wife set up on this buck, and it took a long time. I have a film of this on the Endicott Films YouTube, and I had to get the buck to stand up, so I huck a rock, and it stands up. And it's kind of funny because we're like back and forth on camera, like, do you see it? And she doesn't see it. And I'm like, it's right there. It's like there's a log. It's down. She goes, okay, I think I see it. I'm like, I'm going to throw a rock. When it stands, you got to shoot.
Yeah.
And I throw the rock, and she's like, I don't see it. I'm like, what? And so it's just wild. And then she just nails the buck when she does see it, and we're freaking out. We get go back up to the kids, and then Kevin and his wife were there. And so Kevin's a pastor, actually, of a church, and he went down with us to go recover the buck. So I had my son, Aya, and then my wife, and then Kevin came, and then Kevin's wife's an OB or a nurse or something.
Yeah.
And so she was able to stay with the two young ones because, again, it's like in my head, how is this going to all work out?
Yeah.
And it's just like a miracle.
The two perfect people in the whole
Two
world.
perfect people in the whole world were there to help, and totally unplanned. We go down, recover the buck, and my favorite part of the whole thing is that my son, Aya, tells the story. And I filmed it, and so I captioned it on my film, and it's so funny.
That's
just
awesome.
listening to him retell the story.
Yeah.
And
I
he
love
just is obsessed with hunting and hiking.
And how old is Aya?
He's 4 now.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great.
Just
I
turned
love
4. Well, December, and
man.
yeah. So seeing his joy, and of course my wife and I sharing that moment together. So it'll be tough to top that one, I think, for a long time, because it was like, first of all, a miracle.
Yeah.
And second, just some beautiful memory.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Pretty buck.
Everything
Cool
worked out,
setting.
and
It worked out. It easily could go the other way.
Yeah.
That's the reality of hunting, and this time it went in our favor. So
man,
it was neat.
I love it. And
Thank you, yeah.
what day of the year was that?
That was November 3rd, and season ended November 10th.
Yeah.
This year, which is unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I know. I thought it was a given, but here I am. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love that story. So what's the name of that video on your channel?
So I just started a new series, and I want to keep doing this, but it's called A Short Story, and I just name it Sammy Joe Endicott.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have another one that's a short story about Joseph Stark, and he's
Okay.
a buddy. So I want to keep doing these films because, similar to what we've talked about, my passion is more than just hunting, but that shared experience with others, and really how important it is for ourselves and our health and our faith is to be out in the woods. So I want to capture that, and then kind of highlight good character within the hunt. And so Joseph Stark, my buddy, just an awesome guy. And so I was able to capture him, share some really cool things. I spliced it into his blacktail hunt that I took him on, and he got a buck.
Yeah. I did watch that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So which I thought that one came out
before my wife's.
It did. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen your wife's yet, but I've seen that one.
Yep. I took him out, and then just a few weeks later, I took my wife, and we got that buck. So that was the second of the series.
Yeah.
So they're just named after the person.
Yeah.
And all my other films are like, they've got a title and they've got 1 through whatever. These ones are just separate. Like they're like an independent production.
Got it.
And I'm really excited about it. I want to do one with just more of my kind of like I have like a list of people I really respect and look up to.
Yeah.
Not in a way of they're not like the best hunter in the world. They're just like to me like the best human in the world. And so I want to capture them.
Yeah.
And take them hunting. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're able to get your wife into that
Thank
series.
You.
That's so cool. Yeah, and everything you say about, the kids, I've got a 3.5-year-old and she's 6 months as of just a few days ago.
Wow.
Hitting solid food. So I'm right there with you when you're talking about your son giving the story about what happened. Just past 4 years old, I can just hear my son just yammering, telling the story. Man, that's good stuff. So what's new with you? We've already talked about how you had another kid. Congratulations, number 4.
Yep,
Did you set out to have 4 kids?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So when you got married, what was your goal, kids-wise?
Well, it's tough to say that I would want to overprescribe, like what's our fate with kids and parenting and all of that.
Sure.
I think we were always open to having a big family.
Yep.
I think my wife and I
qualify now.
What's that?
I think you qualify now.
Yeah, we're experts now at having kids. I think 2 is kind of like we saw ourselves having at least 2 kids.
Yeah.
And then when we hit 4, we're like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
So, we're at capacity for ourselves to parent. But man, we love our children so much. And it's like, I could never imagine have been stopped at 2.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Each personality and just as a parent being blessed with another human. And I don't know, it's very special. And I never thought I'd have 3 boys. And so that's kind of fun too.
Yeah.
And I get to, my oldest is my daughter, and I get to spoil her with all my love and being my only daughter.
Yeah.
And that feels good too. So, but yeah, girls are so special, little girls. And so, I'm super grateful. My oldest is my daughter.
Yep. Dude, I've noticed something so different, having a boy first than having a girl. You just treat them different. You hold them different. They're girls. You know, it really is different being a girl.
She's my little princess.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love it. So other things, what's new other than family? You went on some out-of-state hunts, didn't you? Yeah. California. And you didn't go anywhere else this year?
Did.
Yeah.
I went to Arizona,
yeah,
but that's not
right.
not necessarily new for me.
Sure.
But
you still, you did some out of Oregon hunting.
Yep.
You get kicked in your butt, or did you have a great time?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. This whole last 2023 and kind of carried into Arizona, it feels like things just didn't go my way, and that's archery hunting. That's hunting.
Yeah.
So
keeps
it
you
happens.
Humble.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot, because some people too from the outside seeing the films and blacktail, it's like, how are you always successful? Like, you must be doing something different. And it's just sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And this last year, 2023, was pretty tough.
Yeah. I'll wait for the announcement. Oh, it ended.
Okay.
Perfect.
There we go.
Yeah. No, I've never hunted out of state.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm just overwhelmed by thinking of doing a big hunt somewhere far away, like Colorado, Arizona, Idaho.
Yeah.
Just as far as the whole point thing. I know there's over-the-counter tags, the whole going out there camping, and it might just be because of where I am with having 2 young kids. But I mean, you still did it. You've got 4 young kids, but so it's fun to watch other people go through that and be humbled.
Yeah. What would make it for yourself? Kind of. Is it just the wife and kids at home, or what's that barrier to keep you?
It's leaving them behind. Like even now when I do my 3 or 4 day hunts here in the state of Oregon, like it's I don't spend much time away from them. I don't do business trips or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it is a big deal when I'm gone. Like a lot of my buddies at this time of my life, well, I guess they're all married now, but a lot of my buddies were getting married for a while. So even those summer, we always did camping trips because we don't have any interest to go to the casino or the bar or anything. So, even those being gone for a few days, the deer camps being gone, it's just kind of hard. So I would imagine going out to, for example, Colorado for a week, it'd just be rough at this point in my life.
Absolutely.
But then I have this thing lingering over me of like, well, if you never start saving up points, you're never going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hear the doomsday stuff from all the people who love to hunt in those states and say, well, the point creep keeps happening, and the wolves, but the point creep. So it's like you'll never be able to do it. So I don't know. Over the counter will probably be what I have to do someday. But yeah, glad that you were able to make it out. California, Arizona, good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely for my wife and having that many kids and me being gone, it's definitely very, very tough. And but I think it grows us both. As individuals and as parents, and to be able to go through that, it feels like that's kind of like a struggle or a hard time is for the lack of help because I'm not there. I do have like my all our family is in town, so my wife's parents live like a mile down the road, almost more like a half mile, and then my mom is like the biggest help in the world, and so it really makes my wife have to depend on others for help. And so that's good for her, too, because she tries to super mom all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to depend on others. Yeah. And it's like takes a tribe, to raise the kids, raise a family. So, so I think that's good for us. And we wouldn't have done that otherwise. We would just be at home doing it ourselves. We wouldn't ask for help. So while it is very hard, I think it's a good growing opportunity, too.
Yeah.
And it's one way to look at it. At least that's how
I see that.
Look at it.
Yeah.
So, because I still want to get out
to my wife and say, hey, it's like a workout, you do something hard that hurts a little bit, and then like we're stretched,
Yeah, and definitely, it's definitely very hard, and I don't discount that part of it when I do talk about me leaving town. It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I try to make my hunts as efficient as possible, and come home as soon as possible because I don't try to be away any longer than I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, my wife is so supportive and she wants to see me enjoy that part of my life. Something that, I went to school, I was an athlete, and I had no time to hunt. And I always thought, when I'm older, I'll have more time to hunt. And then now you're a parent, you have responsibilities, and you got to be there for the kids. And it's like, well, do I have time to hunt? And so she still encourages me to go. And then we're good partners at home when I am there, so it's not like it necessarily takes away from the parenting aspect of having mom and dad at home because I'm gone for pretty short stints. Like the kids, they know daddy's hunting, but I mean it's pretty much a blink of an eye for their lives at this time.
Yeah, and I mean there's a lot of truth to that as well. Like I mostly do day hunts, and so during the general rifle deer season, we get the month of October and a little bit of November. I usually, the most I've ever done is I got 23 day hunts in 1 year.
Wow.
And that was when we only had one kid.
Yeah.
Last year we had 2 kids. I think I got either 15 or 16 day hunts in. So that's
when you have 3, you're down to 7 days.
Yeah. Well,
math.
the girl was also born in August, so she was still pretty. I'll probably get more next year. But anyway, all that to say is I'll share that with some of my buddies. And they're blown away by that because they only get the weekends. I work at a church. I'm a pastor. I make my own hours, so I can, hunt for most of a day and come home and do my work at night, you know, during the midweek, unless I have meetings or something. And then I don't hunt the weekends because I work the weekends. But all that to say is, there's people who struggle to even find time to hunt normally, that when we look at some of the celebrity hunters or whoever that are working, sometimes I'm even a little judgmental when I hear of like a celebrity hunter and they hunt in 5 different states in one season, and I'm like, does your family go with you? Like, do you even see them? But it's an important thing to discuss that any normal person isn't alone in struggling to carve out time to hunt.
Yes.
But it's also real important to us, and so we do what we can. And the point I'm bringing up with me being, hunting for 23 days in one season is maybe it would be better for me to just, like, knock it out, be gone for a week, instead of spreading it out to where it's, like, half home, half not home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. And while you're saying that, I have talked about this concept with a friend, and it's like that level of sacrifice that both individuals are, you put out. Like the more you sacrifice, it's like related to your enjoyment and fulfillment within hunting. So not to take away from, like as you put it, like more of the celebrity hunter that gets to hunt without responsibility, but it does feel personally very rewarding when how much we have to sacrifice to make it happen. So that's all I had to say on that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, even on a micro level, like the one animal that you kill, right, for the season.
Yeah.
And part of what makes that so rewarding, that moment, is all the work you've put into it. So but when we say that, most of the time we're thinking about the miles hiked, the early mornings, the lack of sleep, the bumps and bruises, and less of the time away from my family.
That's the sacrifice I was talking about, is the time away from family.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you have to do all that other stuff.
Exactly.
That's like the easy sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hard sacrifice is the time away from family.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. I think it's important for people to hear that and know, like, well, you're not alone in the sacrifice and in the you're going to spend your time doing something. The times I can bring my family into it are so life-giving, and I love it so much. But then there's also a lot of times that I just need to be out there alone. Yep. And it's not because I'm some kind of animal that's obsessed with filling tags constantly. Right. It's just because I love being out there. I need my time. Like what we've talked about a lot on this show, it's a way I connect with God. It's a way that I reconnect with myself and who I am. So, there's a lot of aspects to consider with that.
Yeah.
But to get back into our conversation about what's new.
Okay.
You got a massive blacktail this year.
He was pretty
really
good.
Cool blacktail.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever gotten a blacktail that has like any kind of kicker or thing like what can you explain the rack of your blacktail that you got?
Yeah. So, I've hunted for 23 years in Oregon with my bow, and I've put in a lot of time. And I've never seen anything like this. So the buck I killed is a kind of like chocolate antlered, lots of mass, and he's a really tall buck. So his frame is like 138 inch 4x4 frame.
Wow.
Maybe a little bigger actually. And then he's got a 5 3/8 inch dropper coming off that right side.
It's not like a little one.
No, it's not like a little, and it's like a legitimate, like it like curves and like almost paddles.
Yeah.
So it's like
cool.
Like the most classic, like iconic, that's the word, dropper. That's like this buck got it, and he's a blacktail.
Yeah.
Like, it's more common with blacktail to have more of a tine. It just looks like a dagger point coming off, like a sticker, but a sticker that's going straight down. That's much more common on blacktail. Muleys,
and to have like really messy bases and stuff.
Yep, messy bases. Muleys are the ones that kind of have more of that wavy dropper look. So I was pretty fortunate, and then also he splits to make a 5 on that left side.
Oh, so, yeah. I love it. So then I have one question, because I know you have like so much content out there about this buck and everything. But
sure.
How many bucks did you pass up that year before you came across this guy?
None.
Wow. So
no, wait. Well, I did not pursue, but I didn't pass up any, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't have any like 20-yard broadside shots on any bucks.
Okay.
But there were 3 or 4 bucks I did not pursue.
Got it.
Yeah.
That you saw them, you're like, it either wasn't a good situation, or you thought, not quite the buck I'm holding out for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then this guy came along.
Yeah.
How many days left did you have in the season?
The whole. It was I shot him on opening day.
Oh.
And
I didn't
for
realize that.
Yeah. It was opening day this year was the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so it was a really late, actually the latest in history opener.
Yep.
And so I've told this story before, and it's really a long story. I was going to target a different buck that I had sheds from, and had been patterning and had trail camera, and that buck got killed by a muzzleloader hunter.
Yeah.
I found that out the day I was leaving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
then
I
didn't know what you were going for.
Exactly. So I had this clean slate, and I come across the buck I shoot on opening day, and he whirls away when I shoot, and I actually clip him in the low leg, which was not going to be a fatal hit.
No.
And I trailed, ran out of blood, had a little bit of blood, ended up not getting enough opportunity to kill him that evening, quit it, talked to my dad, met up in the morning. The craziest part about all of it, and I left this out in times where I have told this story, but my dad actually stands in a spot where this buck would have been possibly bedded below him at like 20 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
And he didn't know it was there. And he moved on, and I was going back to pick up Last Blood trail.
Yeah.
And then I come and stand in that same very spot where my dad stood just that morning,
Yeah.
And then I see movement, and it's the buck I'd hit. He comes out, and I make my killing shot on him.
So you think he was bedded down below?
And
like
what's the odds of that? It was like there's
wow.
So yeah, it's a really long story, and
yeah, you don't need to share the whole thing.
And so just really to highlight it, it just felt like it was such a gift because I've been struggling a lot, and then to have my favorite hunt pan out with a dream buck, the beauty of its cape alone would have been. I mean, say it was a heavy 3-point, and with that cape and the beauty of that buck itself would have been literally like a dream blacktail.
Yeah.
And then to put that rack on that cape and beauty of a buck, I couldn't even put a 1 in a what kind of number on it, like 1 in a million. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never seen another deer like it.
That's beautiful.
There's very few that have that cape color and that rack. It's special. So I was lucky, very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love hearing it, man.
Cool.
So more things new. It seems like you've gained some recognition as far as, I know you hate talking about this, but like as far as, I mean, you've just been on a ton of podcasts. Your YouTube account has gotten a lot more subscribers. But, you know, how does it feel to like have that people wanting to talk to you so much? Like even just here at the show, it's like insane how you can't even get away without just someone like, oh, I love what you do, I love what you're doing, kind of a thing.
Oh, sure. How's that feel? Well, I mean, I work hard at the things I love to do, and so of course there's always that part in us that likes to feel appreciated or valued for the things we try hard at, because I mean, it's not why I do it, but I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate that people to find value in that. And so I think if anything, what I like to hopefully do and promote is that if I get a stage to speak from, so with my YouTube or whatever, is that I could appreciate what I find to be valuable from it. So that's the people, again, that I hunt with, the good character, and also appreciating the wildlife we kill, and also, you know, appreciating God, that he gives us this gift of life to hunt within. So all those things really, like, that's my platform. And so if I get any platform to stand on, that's what I want to try to preach and push forward. And so, I don't necessarily view it as a self-gain. Really ever. If anything, I try to divert and say, this is the star of the show. It's the animal. It's not me. I edit that way. I don't like to be in on the camera.
Dude, and that is such an important mindset. Like, I'm trying to think of the direction I want to go when I bring this up. So I work in ministry. I'm a pastor. I work at a church. And there's this mindset that you have to learn, you have to gain. We don't naturally have this humility built into us. Naturally, as human beings, we're very selfish. And we want to have personal gain. We want to pursue, whether it's financially, whether it's popularity, whether it's whatever it is, we always are concerned with us consuming, us getting better, when and that translates over into people's life in ministry. When they become a pastor, when they start leading a ministry, they blend the success of that ministry with their own success. And that's where that like self-centered idea comes in, that is only removed by humility. Is like, okay, we had a ministry event, we planned it, and 5 people came, and it felt like a failure.
Oh, sure.
Then you'll project that onto yourself.
Yeah.
Of, I'm a failure, when instead we should be giving all the glory to God. And the same thing is true when things start to get successful, and you've got 50 people, and someone was saved, and it was an awesome event, right? Then you take the glory for that, and you're like, oh, we planned such a cool thing and said all the right stuff, and it was awesome, and now look at how good we are.
Yeah.
When that's the wrong mindset. And so for people who aren't in ministry, I believe that everyone who's a follower of Jesus is a leader, and it's their responsibility to point people in their life to Christ and to know him. And so, like, for the example you gave of not seeing the platform as you're just self-aggrandizing, like, I'm so good at making videos, I'm so good at hunting, I'm so successful, everyone wants to listen to me because I'm the smartest guy, you know.
Smartest guy in the room.
That's not the attitude I ever get from you, and I don't think anyone could say that from their conversations they have with you. Instead, it's a humble attitude of like, you know, this is happening to me and I'm doing the best of what I can versus I'm the one who made this all so good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have any response to that.
I don't know. I mean, you shared a lot of good stuff there.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, it's human nature to want to really self-promote and yeah, be the focus of attention maybe, because I think over time humans had to survive, and that was one of the ways. Not everybody's that way. There's kind of introvert, extrovert type personalities, and people are all different, but definitely for me, I've always wanted to lift up someone else, and that comes with just the way I was raised and being in the church and my faith in God is like, so there was a definition of love as making others exist, bringing someone up that otherwise would not be noticed.
Yeah.
And I served in Young Life for a lot of years, and Young Life, the whole thing is win the right to be heard and share the gospel as an outreach to kids that would otherwise never step foot in church. So my mind has always been shaped around finding someone that needs that friend or that comfort that doesn't ever get it. And so it just carried into what I do now. So I still don't want to be the attention of anything. And how do I lift up others in the stuff I do? Because that's what feels right. That is my joy. That fills me up.
Yeah, and I see that in you. Like, even I keep giving the example of being at the show and everyone wants to talk to you. You don't ever turn people away. Like, even when you're busy, there's stuff going on and you have to go to this or go to that, you know, you're sitting there just humbly answering any question that anyone has, giving them your full attention, and that's a real important mark of character that I see in you. So anyway, that's what's new in your life. Big long roundabout to get to that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some more applicable tips for people wanting to hunt and fish and take advantage of the great resources we have here in Oregon. One thing that people always want to know, and it's important to them, is how can we keep ourselves in the zone, keep ourselves in the mountains, in the woods, on the water year round? And I mean, you partake in quite a few different hunting and fishing adventures, and so I wanted to ask you the question: what are your favorite outdoor activities that keep yourself in the wild year round?
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, you got to stay busy. I got to keep my mind working and active, and I'm always thinking about how do I, do something new to combine family, kids, outdoors.
Have you noticed? I've noticed this in myself when I do have like a longer time of not hunting, not like using those skills and those senses, they kind of get dull. So like when usually used to be when I wasn't spending as much time out there, my first hunt of the year, my eyes weren't trained to pick up certain things. And so I was like straining,
almost blurry
looking, vision. Instead of seeing the depth of the forest and the trees, I would see more of like a one-dimensional or two-dimensional just like wall. Yeah. And it takes a while for my eyes to adjust and start latching on to certain things. Yeah, have you noticed that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's why I see it's important to stay sharp.
You gotta figure it out year round, and I'm always coming up with creative ideas. And you talked about it earlier, but so involving the family or not, I always ask my wife, like, hey, do you want to go? And sometimes she's like definitely like a no, but every once in a while she like takes the bait and I get her to go on a trip. Yeah. And I'll rope her into some crazy adventure and loop the kids in. But yeah, that is the angle, is I always try to include my wife and kids. That's always like, hey, would you want to go on this trip? And then what's the next thing I do during that season? So, I mean, we've done like crabbing off the jetty. Awesome. Or I haven't done clamming yet, but we talked about that. I have a buddy that clams a lot, and we went to the coast a couple weekends ago with the intent to, and we didn't get around to it. But that was the idea. Yeah. And then into fishing with the kids versus, and then high lake when I can, and then shed hunting. Haven't really done that with my kids yet. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I always try to find an excuse to get out, and so that will do the two things: one, mentally good for me; two, keeps me sharp physically, even your eyes. Because I noticed that with living in a world where I'm focused at like 2 feet away on a computer screen, my eyes are not conditioned to focusing quickly out at a distance. Yeah. And it's there's a physical component to that, and like a training and sharpness. Yeah. So I think that's all good stuff that you brought up. I don't even think about it. This is just, I don't think about this ever. But, but I definitely, like, I shape my life around it. And And so
So I mean, to give some examples, very obviously, we have our big game seasons. So it's very easy to spend the fall, especially if you do archery. You start off in the beginning of September. You used to start off in the end of August, but now we're a week later. And so that's quite a good way to begin. Just let's look at blacktail, for example. Scouting, everyone always brings that up. It's an important part. Do you spend a lot of time in the woods, like far outside of blacktail season, or do you spend your scouting more close to season?
Yep. I do not like to scout during the rifle hunt, and that's like, really before archery late opens up. If I go out elk hunting, sometimes I'll pay attention and kind of scout for deer at the same time.
Yeah.
But definitely kind of leave it alone. I think what's paid off over the years for scouting is shed hunting and high lake fishing and just hiking trailheads, camping with friends. And they didn't know it was a blacktail spot, and I took them camping and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's just always being a student of the areas you're going for whatever purpose you can get out in the woods. Going to cut a Christmas tree, I always pick areas I don't hunt so I could learn, in the snow, where is there deer sign in this area?
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from that. So getting a Christmas tree, grouse hunting. When I'm driving, I pick road systems I never hunt so I could learn new road systems.
Oh, yeah.
Brand new mountains. And I found a herd of elk that way this year.
Nice.
With my wife. We were going grouse hunting. I pick a landing, jump out with my son. We hustle down the ridge, and I turned up a herd of elk.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the scouting is not really where I hunt.
Sure.
It's looking for new stuff.
Got it.
Because I've spent a lifetime, really honing in a lot of spots where I blacktail hunt.
I've noticed that I have a method for my spot selection and my scouting. I always have a rotation of 5 spots that I'm really primarily hunting, and usually 1 or 2 of those are new to me.
Yeah.
And 3 of them are spots I really know, because I hunt more on the west side, industrial timberland, mixed in with the public BLM that doesn't really get logged as much, but lately more and more of it's been getting logged.
Oh, good.
So what I do, what I've learned is I can't hunt in a spot for more than a handful of years before it's a completely different spot, and it's just not conducive to hunting anymore, whether the brush grows up so thick that it's just impossible to move through it or see through it, or they clear cut it, and then I usually give it a year or 2 before that's a clear cut you can glass for rifle season,
or bad cat population or high cat population.
The predators always move.
Pushes them around.
Yep. The people, I've had a few spots that the first few years I hunted it were awesome, and I never saw any more people, and then it's like they catch on. So all those reasons, like I normally get 3 or 4 years out of a spot, and then I have to have new land. So that's why for me, I throw my trail cameras up in June. That's my month, and I let them run. I don't have satellite ones.
Yeah.
I don't even see them until the first week in the season, and that's when I visit my cameras and check what's going on. And so, but I have my 4 or 5 spots with cameras in them.
Yeah.
That I know, okay, there's a buck living here. I got a picture of him hard-horned, so he's probably nearby, and it's just fun to see the velvet pictures and be like, oh my goodness, there's 7 deer that live here. But all that to say, I agree with you on the scouting. It's like I hunt so much in these areas, I don't really need to scout the same spot over and over again. Like scouting's great for finding new areas.
Correct.
But yeah, that's one way to get out there. Obviously elk hunting. You brought up high lakes trout fishing, but it sounds like for you, a lot of these things that are bringing you out there aren't just for the one activity. Like you said, grouse hunting, you're also blacktail. Camping,
scouting.
Blacktail. High lakes trout, well, blacktail.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always paying attention and trying to learn new stuff. For a while there with the high lake fishing, I was trying to hit every high lake in a certain region.
Yeah.
And there is some bit of the exploration, the unknown. What if it's amazing? What if the fish are really big?
Yep.
So I just love that adventure part.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, my conversation with Nathan Endicott was awesome. It was fun. I was so glad that he was willing to give up so much of his time. We went pretty long, and we actually got kicked out of the show because we went a little bit past when the show closes. So I'm just going to wrap up here the conversation via my headphone microphone. So please excuse the different quality audio than what you normally come to expect. But to wrap up our conversation of keeping ourselves in the woods 365 days a year, I live my life by seasons, and everything that I do, all my different hobbies have a different season that I like to divulge. And I mean, part of that's forced on me by tag timing and when things are open, when we're allowed to hunt. But even if I could hunt all year round, I probably would still naturally break it up into seasons. So obviously we have blacktail, elk, and then after the big game seasons, I jump right into duck hunting. And over the winter time, I love to duck hunt whenever I can, whether it's in the river or at the bays. I don't have any private spots available to me, so public land, everything. After duck season ends is when I jump into trout fishing. Like I mentioned earlier, usually I'm trout fishing for the stalkers with my family. We like to go out to any nearby pond or lake that's stocked. Lakes are always the best when we can do some trolling, but you know, shore fishing's great with a 3-year-old. And then after that, it comes pretty quick is turkey season, or spring bear if I'm hunting spring bear that year. This year I'm not, but I'm excited for turkey. That's coming up right around the corner, and it's a great way to keep your skills sharpened and also just experience the turkey woods. It's a totally different hunt than anything else, really. People compare it to elk hunting, but you know, it's a bird. And then we get into summertime, and that's when camping season comes around. Of course, I'm still fishing. I'm bass fishing, all that kind of stuff whenever I want, but really it gets into camping and mountain biking for me until the weather gets too hot to mountain bike. But still love camping all through the summer, going quite a ways around the calendar there. In June is when I put my cameras out at my spots, and then I just leave them all the way until season. Then I check them either the week of opening day, or sometimes not even until a week into season when I finally get around to hitting whatever spot that camera is in. Next thing you know, we're back at it. It's blacktail season. And so there's just lots of opportunities, and some things double up. Like I normally only grouse hunt during elk season. So there's an idea, my general year around the calendar of how I stay in the woods and the things that I enjoy doing, which it looks different for everyone. But hopefully that's encouraging to someone who's looking for an example of how to stay out there. To wrap up the whole conversation, the whole podcast, one of the themes that came up in our conversation was that of humility, and how our lives in the outdoors exemplifies that humility and builds humility within us, because it reminds us how small we are. For one, when we look out at a vast landscape, we're tiny. Each of us is individual human beings, and we see what's bigger than us, and then it opens our eyes to the fact that there's something even bigger than everything that we can see. As dwarfed as we feel, all of creation can feel dwarfed before God. Something so big and so powerful to have created all of that. So on that level, we feel humbled, even just physically, or like when we're climbing a mountain and we're wheezing and we're getting all beat up, or we're just dying in the heat, or we're freezing in the cold. All those things humble us on a physical level. It helps us in our battle against ourselves, our battle against pride and selfishness, which is intrinsic to the human experience. It's something that we're all born with. It is a large part of that original sin that we just can't escape from. We like to think higher of ourselves than we really are, and we like to take credit for things in our lives that are not ours to take credit of. And that's one way that my life in the outdoors has helped me learn about God and learn about a proper relationship with Him, which is completely yielding to His power and His ability over my own, even in my life. Instead of always trying to be the one that makes everything happen, when I yield to God, when I pray, when I ask Him to provide, I can trust that He will provide. And when things work out like they always do, I don't take the credit and say, I was so witty, I was so smart, I was so strong, I'm the one who made all this happen, I'm the one who shoved the square peg through the round hole. No, instead I can give God the credit because I'm humbled by what He has done that I couldn't have done myself. The miracle of shoving the square peg through the round hole, as it feels sometimes like the numbers aren't going to add up in our finances, or in the hunting world, I'm not going to be able to ever find an animal, and you give all your energy and effort, but then eventually you get that chance encounter with the game that you're pursuing, and it's not just a chance, a coincidence in the universe. It's a gift from God. It's a blessing. He puts it in our lap, and then it's just our responsibility to make it happen. And then even beyond that, in the moment, we have buck fever, we have all the factors that could go wrong, all the things, all the little minute details that could mess up the encounter, that could ruin the hunt. But sometimes it all comes together. And you know, as much as we give our best effort to make it happen, as much as we train, we exercise, we practice, we work hard to make it all come together, that much of it is on us. But at the end of the day, none of it is possible without God. And I've been learning that a lot recently in my life and ministry, but it has crossed over into my life in the outdoors, and just recognizing that, man, I give it my all, I do my honest best, and I know when I'm doing my honest best, and God knows when I'm doing my honest best, but no one else does. No one else knows whether I'm being lazy or whether I'm really giving it my all. But God sees that, and He honors that. And sometimes things come together, and you find the animal that you've been pursuing, but it's really a humbling experience. And so I hope that you enjoyed listening to today's episode. I hope that you found some encouragement in your outdoor pursuits here in the Beaver State, and I hope you consider that concept next time you're out there, next time you're in the mountains and you feel small. Just think about how small we all really are in our place in the universe, in the light of God, and how He still knows every single one of us and loves every single one of us, and how much of a beautiful, amazing miracle that is. So good luck out there. Thanks for listening.